I got a lot of lessons left to learn, but I'm not even close. Through my inhibition, I've become quite sure that I love you the most. That this could be the easiest thing if I'd let it, but I'm too afraid of losing it all. 'Cause if I leave everything on the table, then you might break my heart. But I know a love like this doesn't come around every day, and I just can't bring myself to give up right now. Not this way, 'cause I love you and I wanna hold you when we're old and gray. Oh, but love like this don't come around, don't come around every day. Never been quite sure of myself or anyone else, but here I am with you. So I'll put my hesitations on the shelf, 'cause this is what I choose. This will be the easiest thing if I let it, and I can't be too afraid to fall. So I'm leaving everything on the table, and you can have my heart. Oh, I know a love like this doesn't come around every day, and I just can't bring myself to give up right now. Not this way, 'cause I love you and I wanna hold you when we're old and gray. Oh, love like this don't come around, don't come around every day. Every day. Every day. Every day. So I'm leaving everything on the table, 'cause you can have my heart. Oh, I know a love like this doesn't come around every day, and I just can't bring myself to give up right now. Not this way, 'cause I love you and I wanna hold you when we're old and gray. Oh, a love like this don't come around, don't come around. No, a love like this don't come around, don't come around every day. Every day. Oh, every day. Every day. I thought we could both use some change, a newer perspective to see how life looked in a different lane. But here in your arms I can't leave now, 'cause I don't wanna let go of this. Got lost somewhere along the way, chasing the grass that looked greener. Lost sight of my reason to stay, but one look from you draws me nearer. So I don't wanna let go. Love has has a funny way of growing for those that don't mind slowing down. Time is as fleeting as the sunset, hiding in the evening clouds. So live with me here in this moment now. I've started to notice a change, and every morning I see you, lovely in all kinds of ways. I can't express what it means to me when I come home to this. Love has a funny way of growing for those that don't mind slowing down. Oh, time is as fleeting as the sunset, hiding in the evening clouds. So live with me here in this moment now. Oh, live with me here in this moment. Love has a funny way of growing for those that don't mind slowing down. Time is as fleeting as the sunset, hiding in the evening clouds. So live with me here in this moment now. Can we live right here in this moment now?
Don't care what they say. I've been working too hard lately. Feel like I'm going crazy. I need some time in the space. And I say,
Good morning and welcome to Crossroads Church in the room, if you're online or on demand. We've got a great morning together. Will you stand? We're going to start with a song.
hope erupting, darkness shaking, faith is rising. We know, heartbeat racing, living in your freedom.
Our hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free and you are with us. The church is alive, yeah. Passion burning, vision growing, the church declaring, we know, we know, we know, we know, we know, we know. Our hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free and you are with us. The church is alive, the church is alive. Our hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free and you are with us. The church is alive, the church is alive.
Welcome to Crossroads Church. Whether you're connecting online, in person, or on demand, thank you for making this time part of your week. If you're new to Crossroads, you may be asking yourself, what is this place all about? Well, it's pretty simple. Peace on earth. We're an open and affirming community of people committed to following the peacemaking path of Jesus. And this peacemaking path leads us to focus our work on rewriting what we call the 5 unacceptable truths. These unacceptable truths are 5 realities that hinder human flourishing and destroy peace on earth. Together, we work to replace spiritual emptiness with spiritual vitality, poverty with physical and financial flourishing, fear of the other with inclusion and affirmation, illiteracy with education and opportunity, and modern-day slavery with freedom. This is what we mean when we say hope is here. Over the next hour, we'll experience the divine mystery together as we sing a few songs, listen for wisdom, and share in communion so that we might leave here inspired and equipped to follow the peacemaking path of Jesus in our everyday normal lives. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God.
This is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like when the church is alive. Sing this with us. This is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like when the church is alive. The church is alive. Our hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free and you are with us. The church is alive. The church is alive. Our hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free and you are with us. The church is alive. The church is alive. Oh, this is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like when the church is alive. The church is alive. Oh, this is what it sounds like. And this is what it looks like. This is what it feels like when the church is alive.
Is Wendy Howell, and I am the Director of Disability Inclusion and the Co-Director of Partners in Hope. You can go ahead and have a seat. As you came in today, you should have received a program. If not, just go ahead and slip up your hand, and a room host will be happy to bring one to you. Our program is a great weekly resource that tells you more about who we are and what's going on. If you're looking for our digital resources, you can find everything you need in our Crossroads app, the Weekend section. The app really is the best way to stay connected. You can find an easy download QR code today in your program. Everyone, go ahead and take out that Connect card, or go ahead and click on it. If you are a regular attender, just put your name and email address and click that box, check that box, regular attender. If you are new here, welcome. Please check that box, new here, and fill out as much information as you feel comfortable sharing. Be sure to hang on to that Connect card until the end of the service because you might want to add some things along the way. Also in your programs, you'll find a giving envelope. One of our core values here at Crossroads is generosity. Your donations are helping to rewrite those 5 unacceptable truths and create peace on earth through our programs and partnerships. We have lots of ways to donate to the peacemaking work here at Crossroads. The giving envelope, texting, the website, and the app are all convenient and safe ways to give. If this is your first time connecting this morning, we have a gift for you. It is a book called The God We Never Knew. It is especially helpful if you are dissatisfied or deconstructing ways of thinking about God that you were given but no longer make sense to you or caused you harm along the way. If you are new here, on your way out of the auditorium, just grab a copy from one of the tables in the back, or better yet, come see me by the Fresh Perspective banner in the atrium during our meet and mingle after the service today. I would love to meet you, answer any questions you might have about the church. So if you are new here, please come say hi to me. If you are connecting digitally for the first time, just check the box on your digital Connect card and we will ship that book to you this week. One thing I want to bring to your attention is our next O2 weekend is coming up on May 26th for the Memorial Day weekend. O2 stands for online only, and that's exactly what it means. On Sunday, we don't have church on Saturday. On Sunday, the 26th, our gathering will happen online only, with no person gathering here in our Taft Avenue facility. The idea behind O2 weekends is that we want to create room to breathe. So everyone, take a deep breath with me. Take a deep breath through your nose, and exhale. That is what O2 weekend should feel like for everyone. It gives our dedicated volunteers and staff a chance to pause, rest, and regroup before we jump into the summer season. Our team is preparing a special video broadcast that will include new music videos and teaching. You'll be able to access it through the app or online and take Crossroads with you wherever and however you might be spending the holiday weekend. We'll be sharing more details about it in the weeks to come, but be sure to mark it on your calendars. That's all the announcements I have for you. Go ahead and grab those talk notes, and Ryan will be up in a minute with the next installment of our teaching series, Mainsail.
Hey, good morning. See, I raised my voice there at the end of that. I said, good morning. So you knew to say it back. If I say, oh, good morning, you just don't say it back. So that's a little oration trick, little tip they teach you. And hi. It's a question. Good morning? I don't know. Nice to see everyone. Thanks for being here today. If you're a guest this morning, my name is Ryan. I am the lead pastor here, and that might confuse you. It confuses a lot of people. It's okay. It's wonderful. Just stick with it, and it's going to be all right. If you're tuning in online for the first time, thank you. Welcome. So good to have you here. If you're on the atrium enjoying the sunlight, thank you for being here as well today. Great to see you all. I got to meet a couple of you all who bravely came for the first time. You know, like, I find that to be one of the bravest things to do, is to walk into a church for the first time. So thank you very much for being here. I do hope that you feel welcomed by us, invited by the universe or God or love or whatever words you prefer. But either way, glad you're here. Hope you enjoy it. My cell phone number is in the program. It's on the website. If you're newer to Crossroads, or if we've never been able to connect, shoot me a text message and let's grab coffee and old-fashioned, whichever suits your heart. I'm up for it all as long as you're paying. And it'll be fun. So no. And I'd love to answer any questions you might have, all that good stuff. I'm going to ask you a question. Loosen up a little bit this morning. Everybody loosen up. I can feel there's just tension in the room. I want you to raise your hand up nice and high if you are like me. If you are like me. Some of you are like, nope. Doesn't matter what you say after that, Ryan. I've known you long enough. I am nothing like you. Okay, when I get stressed, I take action. How many of you are like that? How many of you can relate? Like a stressful situation happens, your immediate response is, I can fix this. Anybody else? Like, that's it. I got this one, no matter what it is. No matter what it is, that's me. Like, I will immediately start coming up with all the list, all the ways in which I can overcome, right? But how many of you, like me, can relate to having that feeling that I can fix this and then going into like action mode, and no matter what you try, it's not helping, and it might actually be making it worse? Anybody? Right? You're my people. You're my people. A few months ago, I decided that I want to learn options trading. I want to figure this thing out. That was going to be my hobby, right? And I've learned really quick when you're dealing with options and strategies that mentality that you can fix it does not apply to trading options. Does not apply. There are just some moments in life where it goes bad and you just got to take your loss. I was unwilling to do that a couple of times. Wasn't good for me, but I learned my lesson. But that's me, right? I think I can fix it. Now, how many of you, when stress happens, when something like that negative, you kind of go dark? Anybody in the room, you just kind of go dark, right? And it's nothing wrong with that, but you just kind of go dark. You're like, okay, what's going on? And just like there's this shutdown mode that happens, and you just kind of sink inside, right? And maybe you feel like nothing you do matters. Nothing you do can change the situation, right? The reality is we all cope. Everybody say the word cope. We all cope with stress in different ways. Right? We all cope with it in different ways. There's some common ways that we cope with our stress. We distract ourselves. We meditate. We can do research. Some of us will cope by expressing our emotions, or we might seek out some practical or some emotional support from a helping professional, right? There's lots of ways that we cope. And here's the thing, right? If stress is like the storm, so we're using this example of a sailboat and being the captain of our sailboat, we've been kind of tracking along that. And so here's the thing, right? When a storm hits and you're the captain, you know that there is no best way to sail that applies to every storm and every boat. It's not like you can just say, okay, when a storm comes, this is what I'm going to do. No, every storm, every boat is different. And it's the same way with coping, with our ways of coping in stressful, stormful moments in life. There's no one best way to cope, right? However, that doesn't mean that all coping strategies are equally helpful in every circumstance, right? Just because there's different ones, it doesn't mean that I can just apply any coping strategy and that's going to be helpful, right? So imagine with me that you work, okay? And you're in a profession where if you take certain exams, you can advance further along in your profession. And you know you have this opportunity, you sign up, you're gonna take a professional exam, you're gonna get a certification, it's gonna produce a pay increase, the job that you've been looking for, but you start to feel a little bit of pressure, right? And that exam is, say, 3 months away. So now you kind of start to feel the stress of it. Oh my goodness, like, what if I mess up? What if I don't? And so you start doing the what if game, right? And you start wondering, what if I tell people I'm going to take this exam and then I don't pass? And there's all this stress and pressure involved with it. Now, in that moment when you feel that stress, you can cope with it a couple of different ways, right? One thing you could do is distract yourself, go shopping. Right? Like, you know what? I don't need to be stressful about this. I got this. So you distract yourself. Start watching YouTube videos for the next 3 months. Don't want to be too stressed out, right? Or you could deal with the stress by using the coping mechanism of researching, right? You could research the exam. You could begin to set up a situation where you say, here's my schedule for studying for the exam. Both are coping strategies. Which one do you think would be more helpful in that moment? Yeah, the researching, the studying, maybe the shopping, it just depends, right? That would probably be a more helpful coping strategy for the circumstance. Now, imagine that you've been studying for 3 months, working hard, fulfilling your plan. You've taken 3 practice tests, you've nailed it 3 in a row, you're killing it, you're doing wonderful, and then you show up and the exam is in 30 minutes and you're all stressed out. Now, in that moment, you can cope with that stress that you're feeling, right, in a couple of different ways. You're feeling all kinds of anxiety. You could cope in that moment with a distraction. You could pull your phone out, read an article, do some Zen meditation, right? You can just distract yourself from all that stress and all that pressure, or you could frantically start Googling and researching again and going after it with 30 minutes left and cram. Now, in that moment, which would be a better coping strategy? Probably a few Zen meditation moments, some prayer, some thoughtfulness, some Jesus, it's time for you to take the wheel kind of meditative ways of being, right? So that's what I mean by those are both coping strategies, but one, when you apply it in one circumstance, is good and one isn't. Now, those of us in the room that we tend to take too much action, that's our kind of wheelhouse, we call that over control. How many of you are married to it? No, don't raise your hand. Don't raise your hand on that. I don't want to create an awkward dinner conversation and a Sunday lunch that goes south, right? But we know people like this. We're like this, right? And think about it. It's like, have you ever not been able to fall asleep and so you just try really hard to fall asleep? How's that work out? Never good, right? So maybe you got a conversation with your boss that's coming up and you just spend hours and hours thinking about every possible scenario only to discover that the scenario was completely different than what you could ever imagine, right? That's an example of over control. Or maybe you have a friend and they're starting to grow distant. And so if your personality is over control, you do what? You become clingy and you start pressuring them to spend more and more time together with you, right? And in relationship to the sailboat analogy, this is like a captain who the storm hits and they just run around trying everything. They're just trying everything. Well, let's do this. Let's shift the sail this way, right? Everything, and nothing is helping, right? Nothing is helping at all. It's just wasting all kinds of energy. And then there's some times where we don't take enough action, and that's called under control. Right? That's an under control mechanism. Now, this is where there are things that you can do to improve your stressful situation, but we don't do it. And there's lots of reasons why we don't take action. Maybe we don't realize there is anything we can do. Maybe we don't want the burden of taking responsibility. Maybe it's just easier to blame other people. Can I get an amen? Come on now. That's always fun. It's just easier to do that. We can just blame others. We can blame life, right? Think about a deeply frustrating job that you have unless you work here. That's not. But out in the real world, deeply frustrating job, very dissatisfied, you're stressed out, and you just go home every day and you just complain to your partner about it. But you don't look for a new job. You don't think about what could I do to maybe make a career change, right? But just day after day after day, right? Well, that's an example of where we're just not taking enough action or enough responsibility. And this is the captain who just kind of gives up. Storm's here. Who knows what'll happen? We'll see. We'll just see if this storm takes us, right? And that's kind of the idea. And so when we go into a space of under control where we don't take enough action, this often leads us to this sense of helplessness, right? Of just feeling like we don't have a choice. We become very afraid of the future. So these two kind of less than helpful coping strategies, right? Under control and over control. What it does is it leaves us in one of two spaces, either just exhausted, we've wasted all this energy trying to cope, trying to solve something that we can't, or it leaves us in a space of hopelessness. Just feeling like we have no power, no choice. So how can we make a shift? That's the question. Come on, can I get a round of applause for that introduction? I mean, I nailed that sucker. You all are funny. I'm just trying to wake you up this morning, right? Some of you are like, we're filling these fill-ins fast. This is amazing. All right, so how can we make a shift? That's the question today. How do we make a shift to know when to take action and when not to take action? Now, when we gave the talk on Easter Sunday morning, and I kind of talked about the topics, today, this topic was the number one that I received communication about. I can't wait till you talk about when to stop acting and when to act and all that good stuff. And I got no good news for you. I got no secrets on this one. You're going to be like, what? I waited 5 weeks for that? Sorry, I'm just telling you. But how do we make the shift to know when is it appropriate to take control and take action, and when do we don't? Now, understanding that, making that shift, means that we have to understand a really important issue, and it is the issue of control. How many of y'all love to be in control? Those of us that frantically go around fixing everything, we're the control people, right? But this is really the secret to recognizing when I should act and when I should not act, and how I should act is understanding this principle of control. How many of you have ever heard of the serenity prayer? I've heard of the serenity prayer. It's a really beautiful prayer. It was written by a guy named Reinhold Niebuhr, and he's a 20th century theologian, taught at Union Theological Seminary for like 30 years. And it's kind of a staple prayer in a lot of settings, particularly recovery. If you've ever walked through recovery and are in recovery, this is a very common prayer. And it goes something like this, right? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? This is a powerful prayer in recovery groups, powerful prayer in every space that it gets brought into, because it really talks about three concepts, right? It pushes three concepts to the front of our minds, to the front of our souls, right? And these really do help us move towards helpful coping strategies. And so when we're talking about this idea of control, it brings up three concepts, right? Acceptance, courage, and wisdom. Not even an amen on that one. Wow, okay. I mean, it's Reinhold Niebuhr. It's not me, right? Acceptance, courage, and wisdom. And here's what's cool. Like, I'm a Jesus guy. Think he was a pretty powerful figure in our history. And Jesus actually exemplified this prayer in his ministry, in his life, in the stories that we have of him in the Gospels. And what I want to do for just a moment is just look at some wisdom that we can find from Jesus, who navigates acceptance, right? Courage and wisdom. And here's the first thing about Jesus that I think is really amazing, right? When changing the situation, now lean into this a little bit, was out of his control. Now that might be a weird thought for you to think that there were things that were out of Jesus's control, right? But there were. When things were out of his control, when the situation, changing the situation was out of his control, Jesus wisely surrendered and accepted reality. Now, probably the most famous story that we see this in is the story of Jesus when he's in the garden, right? When we look in the Gospel of Matthew, we find Jesus in the garden the night that he's going to be betrayed, and he's praying deeply, and he's meditating, he's being mindful of the reality of what his mission is going to be and what it's going to result in, and what loving his enemies, what standing up for the oppressed, what all of this is bringing and coming about. And he's asking and he's praying and he's wishing and he's desiring that there would be some other way. And it says in Matthew chapter 26 that again, Jesus went away for the second time and prayed. How many of y'all ever had to do the second time and pray? Like, I didn't like that first answer. Let's go back at it here, right? He went away a second time and prayed. He said, my Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done. And this is that metaphor, if you're not familiar with the passage, where Jesus talks about having a cup and if that cup could pass from him, right? And this is a really beautiful, beautiful prayer. It's a powerful metaphor of accepting what is an unchangeable reality. Not my will, but your will be done. I think that's a powerful metaphor in learning to say there are situations and circumstances that are out of my control, and I am going to surrender to that reality. I don't think this means that it was God's desire and intention and will for Jesus to die on a cross, personally. But I do believe that it was God's love's desire, intention for Jesus to demonstrate the love for the least of these, to stand up for the oppressed. And that will has consequences at the hands of humanity. And we kind of talked about that on our Good Friday experience. But Jesus kind of knew, if I'm going to love, if I'm going to stand up for the oppressed, if I'm going to be a person who gives voice to the voiceless, this is where it's going to lead me. The signs are there. And that's one of the powerful things about this story of Jesus, is that in that moment he surrenders and he says, okay, I can't change it. I can't change it. There's something to learn about that we will have those moments in life. And here's what's fascinating about Jesus. When changing the situation was in his control, when he could do something about it, he wisely and courageously took action. And that courage actually is what ended up getting him crucified, arrested. But it wasn't just in these big things. Jesus also had this really interesting ability to change his mind. And that again might be a strange thing for you to imagine that Jesus was wrong. How many of you kind of honestly be honest? That's kind of weird when you say like Jesus was wrong. Anybody find that kind of weird? I find it kind of weird, right? We don't imagine and think about Jesus as wrong, but like, how can you be fully human and never be wrong? And why is being wrong bad? Why would being wrong like a negative thing? What we see is in Jesus is this powerful example of when you are wrong, what to do. And that's perfection, right? Like I'm gonna be wrong. I mean, it doesn't happen a lot. But boy, when I'm wrong, I try to do right? That's the reality. So here's the thing. When Jesus, this moment in Jesus' life, we get this beautiful story that oftentimes gets a little twisted and contorted to make it look like Jesus wasn't wrong. But if we read it at its face value, he was kind of wrong. And he's transformed in the moment. And in Matthew chapter 15, we see this moment where Jesus encounters a foreign woman. And the text says that he had left where he was doing ministry and he went to another area, a district called Tyre and Sidon. And just then it says a Canaanite woman. Now, if you have a history or you know a little bit about the story of the Israelites, you know, the story of the Israelites and the Canaanites is one of a little bit of tension. They didn't really care for each other, a little feud that had been going on for when Jesus walked around, it maybe had been 800 years. A little animosity had been built up, didn't really care for each other. And so this Canaanite woman comes, she's got a stressful situation, she's taking action, and she thinks this Jesus guy, he's where it's at. I've heard that there's healing that follows him. And so she comes by and she's shouting, "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is tormented by a demon." But Jesus didn't answer her at all. He ignores her. Why? Because that's what he was taught. That's the only way I noted, like, as Jesus grew up, he was taught that there were people you didn't talk to. There were people that believed differently, that looked differently, that behaved differently, and we don't talk to them. They're dangerous people. And so he doesn't answer them. And the disciples came and they urged him saying, "Send her away. She just keeps shouting after us." And Jesus was like non-confrontational. And so he looks over at her and the disciples are saying, "Get rid of her." And Jesus says, "Listen, I was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." In other words, Jesus is saying, like, my mission is to the Israelites, not to you. And she comes over and she kneels before him and she says, "Lord, help me. Help me. This is all I got." And then Jesus gives this answer, which at its face value, when you read it, is like devastating. Like Jesus looks at this woman who is desperate and says, "It's not fair. It's not right to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." He quotes this like awful parable, this little statement, this little quip. And it's basically Jesus saying, "Hey, listen, I've only got so much time and energy and I've got to focus it here. This is what my mission is. Sorry about your luck." And this woman, in her pain and in her desperation, she looks up and she says, "Yes, Lord, but even the dogs eat the crumbs." Come on. Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. And in that moment, Jesus is transformed. And I know we don't like to read it this way, but I think it's a more powerful, authentic reading of the text where Jesus is blown away by this woman. And I believe in that moment, like all these things that he thought that he had been trained in, that he had been raised in, crumble down. Why? Because he walked closely with the Father, right? That metaphor. He walked closely with God. And he knew when he was wrong. And he says, "Woman, great is your faith." I mean, this is a huge statement we don't recognize, but like he's talking to a person outside of the Israelite faith. This woman does not worship Yahweh. This woman does not go to the temple. This woman does not believe like Jesus, has no social customs like Jesus, is like mortal enemies with them. And Jesus says, "Your faith is amazing. Let it be done. Let it be done." And in that moment, her daughter was healed. Now see, Jesus could control his way of thinking. And he could control the way in which he looked at the other. He wasn't a prisoner to the prejudices of his culture and his time, those things that he was handed down that were not his responsibility, were not his fault, so to speak. But yet in that moment, he knew he could change something and he could change his own heart. He could change his mind. And Jesus took that action and he changed his mind. And he made a huge example for his disciples. And he included those who his society dehumanized. I actually believe that what makes Jesus so powerful and so important is because he did live a contrarian life, that he hung out with the people you weren't supposed to hang out with, and that transformed the way he saw the world and God and faith. I just believe that deeply. And I believe that there's power in hanging out with the oppressed, and there's power in hanging out with the least of these, and there's power in hanging out with those that any religious establishment says you don't belong. And I think that formed Jesus and his ministry deeply from a historical perspective, in case you're interested. But here's what I don't want us to miss. When we think about Jesus, who could recognize this I can't change, but this I can, right? He's coping with stress. He's coping with the moment. So helpful coping strategies, those things that we can employ into our lives, they begin with wisely assessing something we'll call controllability. That's where healthy coping strategies start when the storms rage, is by looking and saying, okay, what is the controllability factor here? So in your everyday normal life, because Jesus was living in his everyday normal life. His was a little different than ours, but he was living in his everyday normal life. When the stress comes in, there's two questions that you can ask yourself that can help you navigate this issue of controllability. And here's the first question. What can I control about this situation? What can I control about this situation? What a powerful question to just pause. Most of us don't pause and think about that. I don't. I'm like, I can control everything about this situation. All of it. I can control you and 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 this. Right? We just have this default mechanism, some of us. Just very foolish. I have no idea why I have that sense of self-esteem. It is completely, there's no evidence based in that theory. So what do I actually have control? So I've got this stressful event. It's important that I acknowledge that in those circumstances, there are things that I can control, but there are things that I can't control. There are things about this situation that are so far out of my control. And if I can at least start with that premise, then I can avoid expelling all kinds of energy on things that I can do nothing about. And my energy gets dispersed and disseminated, and it's not focused. So here are some examples of what you can control. If we were doing this like seminar style, I'd pull up the whiteboard and you all would shout it out. So things that you can control, your thoughts. Notice the pronouns here, the possessive pronouns. You can control your thoughts, who you choose to spend time with, your interests, your actions, your level of effort that you put into things. Those are examples of things you can control. Here's an example of some things you cannot control. You cannot control other people's thoughts. You can't control other people's opinions. I was reminded of that very clearly this week as some people's opinions about me were brought to my attention. I just can't control it. You can't do it. Can't control other people's opinions. You can't control other people's actions. You can't control the weather. Be nice if you could, right? You can't control the problems and the issues in the world. I mean, you just can't do it. You can't control other people's emotions. And so based on the answer to that question, what can I control? You look at this situation, you go, okay, here's something I control, here's something I can't control. If I control it, should I take action or surrender? Take action or surrender. Now, I shudder a little bit at the idea of surrendering. I don't surrender well. But there's this really powerful question that I have to decide, and we have to decide in these moments, is to say, do I take action? And I take action depending upon whether I feel I have any measure of control in this situation. And if I have no control, then maybe that's that time to just surrender. But if I do have control, then I can start to take action. When there's something productive that I can do to improve the situation, like Jesus changed his situation, I can change the broader situation, right? When we do that, when we take action, that's called active coping. Active coping. And when there's nothing you can do, there's nothing you can do to manage the situation, there's nothing you can do to change a part of it, it becomes time to surrender, to accept the reality. So we're faced with choices. Do I take action? Do I surrender? So imagine you're at work. You got a big workload that just got dumped on you, and you are feeling all kinds of stress about it. You were just told this is what's happening, and you feel like, oh my gosh, this is so much stuff. It's unreasonable what's being asked of me. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And the stress starts to mount. Okay, you're in a situation. Now it's time to assess. What about this circumstance do I control? Don't I control? I can't control my boss. I can't control the level of work they give me. But I can control, I control myself. I can control my schedule. I can control my time, my personal organization system, so I can start to develop a realistic plan to address all of the tasks one by one. I can have good, healthy communication with my boss after I've developed a plan and say, this is what I believe is realistic in the time frames that are there. Those are things that you can control. What you can't control is how your boss responds to that. You can't control the workload they put on you. And so you have to kind of surrender to that reality. You have to surrender to that part of it so that you can focus your energy on the things that you can control. How many of y'all have had a pipe burst in your house before? I hate to bring that up. A lot about that situation you can't control, right? A lot about it. Now you can control and turn the water off for sure, but you can't control how deep that water is going to seep in. You can't control how much damage is going to be done, but you can take control of calling the insurance company. You can take control of getting some fans, calling some friends. There are things that you can do, right? We always have a sense of control over our response and our time and our plan of attack in those moments, but there's always things we don't have control over. And if we don't recognize the stuff that we don't have control over, we tend to ruminate and put all that energy on the stuff that we can't really change. Maybe you got a really disturbing diagnosis. Maybe you went through a painful loss in your life. And you know life is going to be different and it will change you. And here's the truth. We don't have control over those things. And there's an element that's healthy about just surrendering to the idea that life will be different now. But I can begin to make some changes. I can make some accommodations to what life will look like. I can change some things about my surrounding, about my environment that will make life more comfortable, that I can navigate whatever news I've just received. And if we put our focus and our energy and our attention on those things that we can control, we move forward. And surrender just acknowledges that there are parts of circumstances and situations that I have no control over. And here's the beauty for those of you that love Carrie Underwood. This is the Jesus take the wheel moment. How many of y'all, I just redeemed myself from Easter? You made it through. Easter Sunday, you were like, did he just say, don't give Jesus the wheel? Because I've been basically... This is the moment, everyone. This is the idea of surrender. This is where the metaphor works. I cannot control the diagnosis. I cannot control the boss. I cannot control this behavior. I can't control this person's thoughts. Jesus, take the wheel. Can I get an amen from all the Carrie Underwood fans in the house? And so we surrender to that. Now, here's the thing. Surrender, for those of you that are shivering a little bit at the idea, like me, right? You cold sweat, dripping. You're like, no, wait. Surrender does not mean giving up hope or being overtaken without a choice. That's not what surrender is. Surrender is letting go of futile efforts to control the uncontrollable. It's just letting go of that. And there's an element of pride that's in there. There's an element of arrogance that's in there, but it's just letting go of saying, this is uncontrollable. Now, can I just be honest with you? This is incredibly scary stuff. This is incredibly scary stuff. I mean, to really think about what we actually can and can't control in our lives is terrifying. Because the list of things that we can actually control is quite small. And it's really kind of limited to right here. And I get it, it's really hard. And all of a sudden, we start to feel like, if I give up control, then am I just along for the ride? How do I even know? How do I navigate all this stuff? And you might be thinking about circumstances in your life right now where you're like, I wonder if I've been trying to control the uncontrollable. Have I been exerting energy and effort into something that I just can't help? Wait a second here. So we got a song for you today. And this song is just meant to give you a chance to deal with the inner tension of it. And this song really speaks to the inner tension of the fear of letting go, the pain of saying, if I'm not in control, what am I in control of? And if I'm trying so hard, how do I live a life of surrender? What does that look like? So during this song, I just want you to I know there's a few fill-ins left. Some of you are very filled with anxiety. We will get to those, okay? We will get to the fill-ins, okay? This is kind of a two-parter, okay? So don't worry. Some of you are like, already, I'm going to go see Ryan afterwards, make sure I get these other fill-ins. We'll get them to you. But just take a breath and think about the lyrics of this song. They'll be up on the screen, and see if they resonate, and just hold space for the honesty of like, yeah, this is scary. This is really scary. And then after the song, I want to come back and tell you why it's so important and what can happen in our lives when we actually learn to do this and when we live with faith into this principle.
Someone, can you help me find the wisdom to know what I control in life and the things that I don't? 'Cause lately I've been fighting for things I need to let go, and it feels like I'm losing my grip and it's starting to show. Someone, can you help me find the wisdom to know? 'Cause I don't like letting go. How do I let go of what I control? I don't know what will be left to hold, but will I be left alone? If I don't let go, I'm fighting my own lost fight, grip tight on a heavy road, but that wasn't mine to hold. Someone, can you help me find the wisdom to learn when I need to get up and fight and when to relent? 'Cause lately I've been really trying hard not to get hands, but if dying means a revival, I will submit. How do I let go of what I control? I don't know what will be left to hold, but will I be left alone? If I don't let go, I'm fighting my own lost fight, grip tight on a heavy road, but that wasn't mine to hold. Do I need to die to find revival? Do I need to die to find revival? How do I let go of what I control? I don't know what will
Thank you. Right? There's something about that question, like, how do I know? And there's this tension, and we fight and we fight and we fight, and we try to change others, and we expel all this energy, and we create all this extra added tension in our lives. But here's what's powerful. If we'll lean into this, if we'll just surrender to the idea that there are things that I can't control, that there is the spaces of my life that it is what it is. And if I will focus my energy on what I can actually control, some really powerful things happen. So when we start to discern what we know we can control and what we can't control, so when we kind of crucify, if I can use a Bible word, if we crucify the idea that I can do it all, if we crucify the idea that I have control, if we crucify the idea that I can change it, then what happens, what comes to life, what is revived in us are two things: bravery and confidence. I've never met a person that doesn't want to be more confident. I've never met a person that doesn't want to be more brave. But here's what's powerful, right? When we start to say, okay, here's what I can control, here's what I can't control, we all of a sudden develop bravery to know I can push through the stress. Because there are things I can control. Sometimes we feel a circumstance, everything's out of our control, and if we'll just pause and go, okay, what can I control? Bravery starts to build up, and we go, oh, I can control this I can control, I can't control that. And so bravery builds up. And here's the thing about confidence. This is what I love about this principle, is that confidence grows because you know, and I know, and we know that we are using our limited energy wisely. And I have to admit, this is something that's been hard for me in my life, to accept that there's this time and a season for everything, and what I can't control and what I can control. But I can tell you this, I've come into a point in my life where there's not many moments where I can live like Paul and say, follow me as I follow Christ. But I will say this, over my life and the last kind of year, I think this is a principle that I've tried to be far better at. And I have found that there's so much joy in putting my energy into the things that I can control and not wasting my energy on the things I can't control. There's a peace that comes with it, and there's a confidence in knowing, like, I'm actually growing as a person. I'm actually doing things that I think can make a huge difference in the world, and a huge difference in my life, and a huge difference and I can bring peace into my home, and I can do all these things because I just recognize I'm trying to be better about it. I can't control that, but this I can. And there's so much joy I find in my life because of that. And there's this, like, just shake it off. Thank you, T. Swift, you know? Like, who knew? Who knew she was right in line with Jesus, right? I mean, that's the reality of it. And the more we develop helpful coping strategies, the more we look for those moments in our lives, we will empower ourselves and empower others to bounce back and to move forward faster when life knocks us down. And if there's one thing about this series that I hope we get, is that life will knock you down. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. Life will knock you down. There is no promise that it will not. That is a fact. Life's going to knock you down. But when we develop helpful coping strategies, we can live as that song. Like, we can know when to stand up. We can know which direction to put our effort and energy to fight for. So we're going to receive communion here in a moment. What is it that God's inviting you into today? That's the question. That's why we're here. It's why we gather to experience the divine through one another. Some possibilities. Maybe you sense an invitation to just start every day this week with that serenity prayer, some form of it. Just, God, help me to know that there are things I control I can't. Give me courage to take action where I can. Give me wisdom to know the difference. Help me understand that. Maybe there's a person in your life, a circumstance that you go into weekly, daily, and you just need to say that prayer. Go, what about this circumstance can I change? Give me the ability to accept that. And then give me the courage to know where I can actually influence. And I need the wisdom to know the difference. Maybe just something specific. Maybe you're finding yourself and saying, hey, you know what? I've got a lot of anxiety and I've got a lot of stress and a lot of momentum. I'm working and working. I'm not seeing any real change in my circumstances. I would encourage you to do something that's a little bit of work. But maybe keep a 30-day stress and coping journal. So on the back of your talk notes, there's a little framework for this. And it's just when a stressful situation shows up in your life, You just take a few moments and you just write it down, what it was, what was surrounding, and how did you cope with it? What was your response? And you just reflect on that. After 30 days, you look at each of them, you look for a pattern. I know it's crazy to go to church and be given homework. I know it's much easier to just call you forward and pray on you. But this is unfortunately where transformation takes place, right? Real sustainable change happens. And then bring that journal to some meditative time, some prayer. And maybe that's a big leap for you. 30 days, right? Come on, I'm not. Okay, here's a baby step, right? When you're feeling confused about what to do, about whether you have control or don't have control, just hit the pause button for a moment or two, a few minutes, and be mindful of that moment and ask for wisdom. Just be mindful. I am confused. I want to take action. I don't know where I'm. So just start there maybe. So during this time of communion, that's what I want to encourage you to just consider. We're going to sing a song together about being in the valley and the presence of God with us. But as a reminder to everyone here, you are welcome at this table. You might not fully understand it. But this is a table that represents the most powerful, life-transforming, world-saving metaphor belief that love conquers all. And love includes all. And in the story of Jesus, that's what we get. That's the big idea. And it gets lost a lot of times. But the big idea of the story is that love includes all. Love restores all. Love transforms our world. And sometimes that love costs us dearly. And that's the life of a peacemaker. And so you're invited to come and receive the bread and the cup. It's all gluten-free, alcohol-free. Everyone can participate. As just a belief that what can transform you, what can empower you in this world is sacrificial love. Loving your neighbor, loving your enemy, and everything in between. That will actually heal the world. So I want to invite you to stand. There's stations in the front, there's stations in the back, depending upon where you're sitting. Come and receive this beautiful, beautiful metaphor, this beautiful symbol. The body of Christ broken for you, the blood of Christ shed for you and all 8 billion people on this planet, regardless of your economics, regardless of your gender identity, regardless of your sexual orientation, regardless of what car you drive or don't drive, regardless of where you work. If you are breathing and alive, you are loved and held and of infinite value to the God of the universe.
Never said it would be easy. Never said there'd be no pain. But you promised you'd go with me, and you promises you always keep. Well, I confess how much I need you. I confess that I am weak. I can't promise I won't fail you, but your promises will not fail me. When I'm in the valley, I will fear no evil. When enemies surround me, you prepare a table. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. There is beauty in the struggle. You don't waste a single day. Your presence is my shelter. Your presence is my victory. Oh yeah. When I'm in the valley, I will fear no evil. When enemies surround me, you prepare a table. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. When goodness and mercy will follow me. No, I can't see it all, but I have seen enough to know. Oh, you are faithful. I can't see it all, but I have seen enough to know. Oh, you are faithful. I can't see it all, but I have seen enough to know. Oh, you are faithful. I can't see it all, but I have seen enough to know. Oh, you are faithful. When I'm in the valley, I will fear no evil. Enemies surround me, you prepare a table. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. When I'm in the valley, I will fear no evil. When enemies surround me, you prepare a table. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Will follow me. Will follow me.
Love it. Yeah. What a song that's filled with hope for our lives. Hey, do me a favor, go ahead, have a seat. We're gonna get you out of here in just a few moments. All right, how many of you have been around here for the gala in the past? This is our third one. Yes, good. Hey, listen, I want to just take a moment. If you are new around here at Crossroads, one of the things that we really value around here is generosity, and that is not just us giving to our church, but it's our church giving and being generous to ministries and organizations that are really advancing and moving forward to rewrite those 5 unacceptable truths. And this part of our church is called Partners in Hope. And Partners in Hope is a strategy whereby we identify local and global organizations that share our values and that are working to rewriting one of those 5 unacceptable truths. And if you're coming from another church, another space, you might think of this as like their missions program. So it's kind of like missions 2.0 without all the cringy, make everybody believe like we believe that sometimes exists. And so we find and identify these great organizations doing amazing, incredible work, and then we just try to help them raise funds, and we partner with them, and we learn from them. And it's really a powerful expression of our church. And our big vision for our Partners in Hope ministry is, and I've just had this in my heart for a long time, to give away $1 million every year. That's the goal, and that's the idea. And that was the goal and an idea and a vision before the pandemic. And it's still the vision and the goal after the pandemic, even though life has changed. We're just leaning into that and believing that if we'll invest in people doing amazing work, we can participate in bringing peace on earth. And so our big event that kind of launches our Partners in Hope strategy for the year is the Gala. And you're going to hear more about the Gala over the next few weeks. It's coming up in June. It's a lot of fun. And we'll talk about all of those things. But really what I want you to hear today is the heart of our church is to be a church that grows other work. You and I, as much as we might have a passion for rewriting illiteracy with education, we might have a passion for rewriting, like I do, a spiritual emptiness with spiritual vitality, or perhaps a passion to move from fear of the other to inclusion, or a passion to move from human trafficking to freedom. You might have a deep passion, but these are issues that are beyond our control alone. We will not change these ourselves. And so part of our strategy is to identify and learn and grow and invest in spaces that are doing this both locally and globally. And that's the heart of Partners in Hope. And I want to say thank you to those of you that participate throughout the year. You set aside a little bit, you give regularly, you give at the auction, you way overbuy, you get the worst deals ever. Like the whole point of the gala is to get the rawest deal ever, right? To pay $100 for a piece of cheesecake, whatever it might be. But we have a lot of fun. And so I hope you'll get information. I hope if you've participated in the past, you'll participate. And really, this is such a powerful moment where we get to move the needle forward on rewriting these 5 unacceptables, which is the heartbeat of our church, which is what we mean when we say follow Jesus. It's what we mean when we say hope is here. And I have this belief that hope demands generosity. Jimmy said something the other day that I completely disagree with. Jimmy, are you in here? He might be outside. He said this and I appreciate it. He was like, he's giving the financial update and he's like, we're going to talk about the budget and nobody really likes to talk about giving. I'm like, I do. I love talking about giving because I know how giving transforms my life, not just to church, but just being generous to the world, being generous to the organizations that you love. If you love the Humane Society, you should be generous to the Humane Society, okay? And there's a power that transforms us as people when we are generous. It's just how the universe works. So I actually love talking about giving. You might not like hearing about it, but so that's what we're doing. It's going to be a wonderful evening, and we're going to celebrate it. We've got some guests that are coming. Outstanding, doing amazing work in Los Angeles. You're not going to want to miss this couple. It's going to be great. They're going to be here with us that weekend, all right? So with that being said, on the back of your Connect card, there's a checkbox there. If you want some information, check the box. We'll send you information about how you can get involved, get connected. Also, there'll be a table out in the atrium today. You're welcome to stop by and get any information about Partners in Hope there as well. Do me a favor, welcome Wendy back. She's going to get us one final announcement, receive our donations, and then we'll have our blessing and get you out of here.
Thank you. That's right. Make sure you get your tickets or check that box for the gala. I say gala on June 8th. In just a minute, our room hosts will come around to collect those Connect cards and donations. So while you're getting that ready, I have just a couple reminders for you. Next weekend is Mother's Day. Here is your reminder. Next weekend, okay? We know that motherhood comes in all shapes, genders, ages, and we're going to be celebrating caregiving in all of its forms. I know for me, Mother's Day is not just about celebrating my mother, but all those in my life, my friends, those special in my life. So our service will include baby dedications, and we'll have a special family photo booth set up in the atrium if you'd like to round up your gang and snap a few pics. Right now, I'm going to have our room hosts come forward to collect those cards and donations, and we'll get you out of here shortly.
This is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like when the church is alive. Sing this with me again. This is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like when the church is alive. The church is alive. It's a hope forever. The name of Jesus. We are free and you are with us. The church is alive. The church is alive. And our hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free and you are with us. The church is alive. The church is alive. Oh, this is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like when the church is alive. The church is alive. And this is what it sounds like. And this is what it looks like. Oh, this is what it feels like when the church is alive.
Hey, go ahead and stand on up. I'm going to give you a blessing to get you out of here. Next week, we're going to put all this together, and we're going to talk about creating a resiliency plan as a caregiver. That's what we're going to talk about. So we're going to take the stuff we've been exploring and say, what does this look like when you're caring for others, when you have the reality that can be a stressful circumstance. We're going to talk about some principles and practices to do that as we kind of honor those in our lives that have poured out love and care, and how we do that in other people's lives. All right, so we got a blessing for you. If you're a guest today, we finish all of our services this way with a blessing. I think there's power in our words. And if you've ever received a healthy, loving word at just the right moment, you know that there's power in them as well. So we have a blessing for you today. You're welcome to lift up your arms to receive this blessing. If that is weird for you, just put them in your pocket. It all works the same. But here we go. May you find the wisdom to discern what you can and cannot control in your life. And may you have the courage to take action where you have control, and the humility to surrender to the things beyond your control. And as you balance taking action with surrendering, may your confidence and bravery grow as you focus, all the while knowing that you are not alone, knowing that you are filled with the hope that comes from trusting that the same power that raised Christ Jesus from the dead lives in you and is your mainsail. Have an awesome, awesome week, everyone.
When you see the road from every direction, it will